So over at the White House today, education in the spotlight, just within the past hour or so here. The president signing a number of executive orders aimed at higher education. Two of them, for example, include requiring schools to disclose foreign gifts and mandating university accreditation to be merit-based. And one of the most prestigious universities in this entire country right now, also in the headlines. New anti-Israel protests at Yale University, the latest in a series at Ivy League schools. Last night, that was the scene right there. A crowd of about 200 gathered on the campus in New Haven, Connecticut. The protesters put up tents in protest of a Jewish organization's upcoming talk near the university with Israel's security minister. The school ordered them to disband by 11 o'clock at night, threatening action, which prompted the group to abandon ship and vowing not to stay out all night. Yale putting out a statement today saying that the gathering, quote, was not authorized by the university and is not known to be affiliated with any recognized student organization. They say the group's activities violated Yale's time, place, and manner policies. Now, the protest there, of course, comes on the heels of the Trump administration revoking over $2 billion in taxpayer funding for Harvard after that school refused demands by the administration to tackle what the administration says is things like antisemitism, DEI, and more. Harvard has since filed suit against the Trump administration. Now, before that, the administration also revoked $500 million from Columbia over anti-Semitism concerns as well. All this bringing Yale into the focus. The Education Department recently opened up a second investigation into anti-Semitism at the university, which is often a pipeline to power in D.C. For example, several presidents graduated from Yale. So too did the current vice president, J.D. Vance. Here now, the Republican California Congressman Kevin Kiley, who, by the way, holds a Yale Law degree, also sits on the Education and Workforce Committee. First time on the show, I believe. Congressman, thanks for being with us tonight.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
So there was this pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel organization at your alma mater last night. Yale basically said, get out of there. It ended at 11 o'clock last night. Obviously, a much different scene than what we saw in 2024. Do you think Yale handled this right? Do you give them kudos?
Well, let's start with the positives. So, starting with the very negative is that the scenes that we saw are absolutely horrifying. But starting with the positives, as far as the university's response, they did go out and they broke the encampment up pretty quickly. They're subjecting those who are present to disciplinary action. They've now revoked the official university sponsorship of the Yale's for Palestine group, which is this anti-Semitic, pro-terrorist organization. So all of that, as you say, stands in stark contrast to the scenes that we saw play out last year, where you had these prolonged encampments that would last for weeks or for months with ongoing incidents of violence and discrimination and violations of civil liberties. So that's all good. The university came out with a pretty strong statement today, which I think is good as well. But I will say, when you have video evidence of Jewish students being blocked by these pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic protesters from simply moving about their own campus, we need to have a stronger response than what the university said.
So what do you think?
Imagine anything more abhorrent.
Yeah. So what do you think Yale should do? You sit on the Education Committee that's looked into these anti-Semitic events on college campuses. What might your committee do?
Well, any student who is blocking another student from moving about campus, blocking their freedom of movement based upon their identity, based upon who they are, which is what has clearly happened in that video, they need to be immediately expelled. The university should make that very clear. They should also be prosecuted. I don't know who the district attorney in New Haven is right now, but it's hard to imagine more abhorrent behavior than that. But more fundamentally, and Yale has had a lot of very, very troubling incidents like this. I think that the new administration has been better than a lot of other administrations across the country, at least in terms of transparency, but it points to a much more deeply rooted problem in higher education, where you have these institutions of higher learning have become the epicenter in this revival of one of the world's most abhorrent and retrograde ancient prejudices of anti-Semitism. We have to ask ourselves, how has that happened? And I think that question needs to guide us towards the fundamental reforms in American higher education that we're starting to see happen now.
We started this show, Congressman, with the President of the United States live in the Oval Office. And one of the reasons the President had that event was because he signed a handful of executive orders involving education and higher education. The Education Secretary, Linda McMahon, was standing right there. And it strikes me that I just witnessed the President of the United States with the Education Secretary saying, hey, Education Department, we need you to do all these very important things, while he also wants to disband and get rid of the Education Department. How do you view that balance? It seems to me like we need the Education Department for some fairly crucial things.
Well, when it comes to core functions such as protecting civil liberties on university campuses, it doesn't particularly matter which agency, or department that function is housed within. The function is going to continue. And as you're seeing, this administration is carrying out that function in the way that our civil rights laws contemplate, in stark contrast to the last administration that let this chaos play out on university campuses.
What would you say to folks who say, I just saw the Education Secretary sitting there in the Oval Office, right? We need the department.
Look at the action that they've taken already. The administration has opened investigations in campuses across the country, including Yale. They've taken action to make it very clear that if you receive federal funding, you cannot allow for anti-Semitism and violations of civil liberties to run rampant on our campuses. So look at the action that has been taken. We're finally getting a measure of accountability, and it is desperately needed. I think that it's absolutely unacceptable for universities to say that they should be allowed to have these massive civil rights violations occur just because they do important research. I think we need to send a message that if you're receiving any federal funding whatsoever, then you need to protect Jewish students. You need to uphold our civil rights laws.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.